station. I was hoping you could talk about the impact of the government shutdown now being over and the effort to get federal workers paid.
Well, our Council of Economic Advisors said that it costs about $15 billion a week, and it accumulates to maybe 1.5% of GDP when you account for multiplier effects. And their current estimate is that 60,000 Americans, not government workers, have lost their jobs because of the reduced economic output.
Affordability has become a key word after Election Day last week. How has President Trump, from your perspective, made things more affordable for Americans?
Oh, I mean, the first thing that we've done is we've stopped the runaway inflation. And the second thing we've done is we pushed policies that have caused incomes to grow a lot. But we understand that people understand as they look at their pocketbooks and go to the grocery store that there's still work to do. The way I summarize all the stats we look at is that real purchasing power for a typical worker dropped $3,400 under President Biden and has gone up $1,200 so far today. But Americans rightly are frustrated that they're still $2,000 short. And that's something that we're going to fix, and we're going to fix it right away.
Kevin, Swiss negotiators were coming to D.C. last night to talk to the White House about a trade deal. Do you expect there'll be an agreement there?
I wasn't participating in that conversation last night, so I've not been ready yet.
On the economic impact of the shutdown, you mentioned that it will impact the GDP, quarterly GDP number. How, what magnitude?
Oh yeah, it's about 1 to 1.5%. I think that at the beginning of the quarter, we were expecting a 3 to 4% GDP number in the fourth quarter, which would be consistent with the numbers over the last two quarters. And so now you're looking at something about half of that.
How realistic are these $2,000 tariff checks that the president wants to send to all Americans? Is that actually going to happen?
Well, it's something that will require legislation. But if you look at how much tariff revenue has been coming in, then there would actually be enough room to cover those checks and not go into the rest of the budget. So yeah, there would be enough money to pay for the $2,000 checks.
So are you actually actively working with Congress to try to make that happen?
And we're actively studying the matter and getting the numbers straight so the president has all the choices he needs to decide what to do.
You talked about the impact on. When can furloughed employees expect to get paid back?
We expect that people were actually brought back in as essential employees a couple days early so that the furloughed employees could get their checks as soon as possible. And I was really pleased to see some of my furloughed employees show up today, and there's a lot of hugging and smiling. I think that the payments will come probably early next week.
Next week?
I think that's what maybe even before. There really has been an aggressive effort to get people to get their checks as soon as possible.
Can you talk about the lack of economic data this month? How much is that going to impact you going forward, especially as you're talking about that issue of affordability?
Well, you know, there's some data. The September jobs report has already been cooked, and we expect we might get that next week. It just hasn't been released. The October employment report for the payroll side will be able to be calculated, but the household survey wasn't completed. So we'll get sort of half the jobs report. Most everything else, I think, we'll be able to concoct the correct number after we look back. But we will never know what the unemployment rate was in October because there wasn't a household survey. With that, I thank you all for your attention.
Thank you.
Welcome back to 45th Perspective, the place where we cut through the noise, talk facts, and look at America through a clear, conservative lens. If you're new here, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. And if you've been rocking with the channel for a while, thank you for always showing up. Let's get into today's news. So today, we're breaking down the impact of the government shutdown now that it's officially over. And look, there's a lot of emotion surrounding these issues, but here on 45th Perspective, we look at the facts first. And according to the President's Council of Economic Advisors, the shutdown cost the country about $15 billion per week. Not a small number. When you factor in multiplier effects, they estimate it shaved about 1 to 1.5% off our GDP. That's real money, real economic slowdown, and real Americans paying the price. What hit me the hardest in this briefing was the estimate that around 60,000 Americans lost their jobs. Not federal workers, but private sector workers who felt the ripple effects. This is one of the reasons why shutdowns always become more than just political games. Everyday Americans take the blow, not the politicians. Now, affordability has quickly become the buzzword after last week's election results, and honestly, it should be. Families feel the pressure every single time they walk into a grocery store or fill up their tank. So the question posed was, what has President Trump done to make things more affordable? The answer focused on stopping runaway inflation and pushing policies that allow incomes to grow. And whether you love or hate the administration, you can't deny this. Inflation has slowed dramatically compared to its peak under Biden. The advisor put it into a simple stat that I think explains the entire situation. He said the real purchasing power of the typical American worker dropped by $3,400 under Biden, and so far under Trump, it has gone up about $1,200. Now, that still leaves Americans about $2,000 short from where they were before all the chaos began. And this is where I actually appreciate the honesty. He acknowledged the frustration and said the administration fully intends to fix that gap. There was also a question about Swiss negotiators arriving in D.C. for trade talks. No major update there, but it does signal something important. Foreign governments want clear, stable economic direction from the U.S., and they are willing to come to the table to get it. Another interesting point was the impact of the shutdown on the fourth quarter GDP projections. They were expecting a 3 to 4% growth rate, but because of the shutdown, they now expect roughly half of that. That's a huge hit. And it shows exactly why fiscal fights in Washington always end up hurting the economy more than they hurt the political class. Now here's a topic that caught a lot of attention: the idea of $2,000 tariff rebate checks for Americans. The advisor said it would require legislation, but based on current tariff revenue, the money is actually there. Which means if this happens, it wouldn't even have to pull from the rest of the budget. They're studying the numbers and preparing everything so the president can make a call. Personally, I think putting money directly back into the pockets of American families, especially from tariffs that were collected because of our tough stance on unfair trade, is a powerful message. It's America first in action. But lawmakers have to get on board. There was also an update on federal workers getting paid back. A lot of furloughed employees were brought back early so pay could be processed quicker. Some were already hugging and smiling as they returned. From what was said, the goal is to get checks out by next week, possibly even sooner. And whether you're conservative or liberal, we should all agree that people who were forced to miss work because of Washington should get paid as soon as possible. Finally, the shutdown has created a weird hole in our economic data. The September jobs report is done but hasn't been released yet. The October payroll numbers can still be calculated, but the unemployment rate won't be available at all because the household survey wasn't completed. That means 1 month of lost data we'll never get back. And for anyone who follows the economy closely, that's a big deal. Reliable data drives policy. So here's my honest opinion as a right-wing patriot who cares deeply about this country. Government shutdowns reveal something uncomfortable about Washington. Too many decisions are made with political leverage in mind, not the American people. And regular families end up holding the bag every single time. But at the same time, the path forward matters more than the blame game. Slowing inflation, pushing wages higher, and exploring direct relief like tariff checks shows a clear attempt to ease the burden on working Americans. That's the direction we need to keep moving in. This is a moment for transparency, responsibility, and putting the country first. And if we can maintain that, then the pain of this shutdown can at least serve as a wake-up call for a better approach. Thank you for watching 45th Perspective. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who wants straightforward analysis without the spin. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.